wonderful sounds of summer. The crack of the bat, the sound of a goal horn, the roar of the crowd. I know what you're thinking. You want to get there but are afraid of getting ripped off on the resale market. Well, there's one app I've used for over a decade that's helped me get to so many games it's not even funny. SeatGeek, the sponsor of this video. Whenever I go on a trip, let's say this time's to Baltimore, I always try to get to a game at Camden Yards. The O's may be bad this year, but their stadium's a cathedral to baseball. So with SeatGeek's app, I can sort all tickets available to any given game from red to green on a 1 to 10 scale. Green being good, red bad. The app also offers me a view from where I'll be sitting, and all tickets are verified for authenticity. As always, use the code TREE to save $20 off your first order. And don't forget to download the app. With SeatGeek, this summer's your oyster. So is your fall, winter, and spring. And this video might be too. When a man's at his lowest, you see his true character. Does he crumble under the pressure and break down from the spotlight? Does he lash out at everyone within earshot? Does he deflect blame and throw people under the bus? Does he become the equivalent of the Joker and no one knows what to expect? Or does he find it within himself to grind further? Does he feed on that adversity? Does it make him reflect and grow as a player? Does it harden like clay in a kiln? In the case of Baker Mayfield, he's had a fascinating career arc, going from the golden son of a long-cursed franchise to an exile pariah and everything in between. A tale of not only being in hell, but embracing it while ascending to a new echelon. This is a comeback for the ages. This is Baker's revival. Last time we left off on Mayfield, he had been cast off from Cleveland in favor of an adult at QB. Betrayed by his superiors for playing injured for a good chunk of the season. What was seen as a disastrous 2021 campaign was the perfect excuse for the Browns to move on. Be exiled to a place with their own quarterback troubles. Carolina. The Panthers needed someone to right their ship. Anyone. Things have been going sideways in a hurry since Cam left the first time. Baker would be given every opportunity to thrive, and his first opponent would be the perfect one. The Browns. Baker Mayfield against Jacoby Brissett. Deshaun Watson was serving a suspension for the first part of the year. Things didn't start out too well. The Panthers were struggling. They were down 20-7 at the start of the fourth quarter. But then Baker did what he usually does. Push forward and overcome the odds. Suddenly, the Browns go from controlling the game to being on the ropes on the back of Baker to Robbie Chosen. 75 yards of pay dirt almost felt perfect. Baker getting sweet revenge. Guiding his team down the field repeatedly and even getting them the lead late in the game. But life is cruel, and it tends to be very unfair.
York to try to win the game. The kick.
Oh, look at this.
There's the distance, and Cade York wins it for Cleveland.
Revenge would not be granted. There was more suffering to endure. It did not go well for Mayfield in Carolina. He struggled mightily, and that's putting it nicely. His haters were being proven right. He couldn't carry a team to relevance on his own. He couldn't stay healthy enough to be consistent. And even when he was healthy, the results were miserable. Although in hindsight, a lot of it probably had more to do with the disaster class that was Matt Rule's offense. Baker didn't fit it at all. Their offensive line was god-awful. Mayfield was running for his life, being overseen by an offensive coordinator that never liked him. And that was before they traded away Christian McCaffrey. He tried to stay positive and upbeat during the ordeal, but once Rule got canned, his days were numbered. After an awful showing against the Ravens, everyone knew it wasn't working. They wanted to give chances to PJ Walker and Sam Darnold. Baker was on the outs, requesting his release, and it was granted. Cast off on waivers to anyone willing to take him on. His career in limbo. But there was a bit of luck involved. The Rams, despite their Super Bowl success, were dealing with their own miserable year of injury and impotence. It started with them dying like the Queen to the Bills on opening night and just got worse from there. Matthew Stafford, like Baker in Cleveland, was playing hurt. His throwing elbow was in bad shape. But with the season spiraling out of control, Stafford suffered another ailment to his spinal cord. Shut down to rest and recover for future campaigns. LA was down to John Wolford and Bryce Perkins under center. They just needed a placeholder to man the fort until the year mercifully ended. Baker Mayfield's a significantly better option than the fodder available. He's good enough for the job. And his first test would come fast. 2 days after being claimed, as a matter of fact. A daunting task for any player headed into a new system, but even more so for a quarterback. Remember Kendall Hinton back in 2020? That's the average go for this kind of situation. Fortunately, the Raiders weren't exactly the hardest opponent to face. Under the leadership of Josh McSnakeoil, Las Vegas was going through their own turmoil. Their offense was an absolute mess. And it showed throughout this contest. The Rams were without Aaron Donald and the Raiders could still do nothing for drives at a time. Derek Carr was about to be castigated by the current regime, and games like this were their reason why. The opportunity was there. Give it enough time, even with this makeshift offense, Las Vegas would bend. And it would bend to Mayfield. Seriously, it was pretty much him and him alone. The majesty of Thursday Night Football on full display. Throwing to the likes of Tutu Atwell, Ben Skoranek, and Van Jefferson. A proving ground all its own. It wasn't exactly much, but some say miracles can happen.
2nd and 10. Mayfield to the end zone to Jefferson. Is that possible? Touchdown.
This game saved his career. Going from a guy who some wondered if he was even going to get another crack at a starting job to engineering one of the better drives in his recent memory. With some assistance to Jerry Tillery and Amik Robertson, of course. The Raiders' complete embarrassment was Baker's finest hour in years. And while the rest of his season wasn't anything outstanding, you must remember the Rams were completely undermanned. Baker needed a chance to get his confidence back. And with McVay and the Rams, he got that swagger to return. If it weren't for them, Mayfield might be mired in the UFL right now. Even then, would it be enough to get him another look? LA was always a temporary stop. Matthew Stafford's job was never in question. Baker would be a free agent again. And there was an intriguing option looking for a new quarterback. Tampa Bay was another team that had experienced Super Bowl success, but Tom Brady was never meant to be a long-term option. He hung them up after a disappointing 2022 by his standards, but we never believed it. Especially after the previous year's shenanigans. So far, Brady is still retired. We must remain ever vigilant of his return, however, in the ownership ranks. Sorry for the tangent, but that being said, the Buccaneers needed a quarterback. Kyle Trask was a project QB, but not a sure thing. So why not give Baker a call and offer him a prove-it deal? It's extremely low risk. If he doesn't work out, you have a deep quarterback class in the next draft. Remember, Baker was never guaranteed the starting job. He had to compete in camp and prove himself. The thing to realize is that Mayfield was familiar with this scenario. Look back to his high school days. Mayfield was never a blue chipper. He was a 3-star prospect overlooked by big-time colleges. Too small, too unorthodox of a style, not talented enough to thrive. Scholarship offers only by the likes of Florida Atlantic, New Mexico, and Rice. Yet he had the chip on his shoulder. He wanted to stay in Texas, but Rice wasn't his destination. It was Texas Tech, as a walk-on. Even if his college years had red flags, Baker embraced his fate as the underdog. He did it with the Red Raiders, he did it at Oklahoma, and he had to do it again. Headed into camp, he'd show the world that Cleveland made a mistake, easily beating Trask out for the starting game. And after that, he ran with the opportunity.
Mayfield looking for Evans. He's got him. Touchdown!
3rd and long. Mayfield off his back foot. Wants Mike Evans. Got Mike Evans. Touchdown Tampa.
All of a sudden it's 3rd and 9. Baker's going to try and run for it. And Baker Mayfield crosses midfield.
35 seconds. Mayfield to the end zone. It is caught. Otten. Touchdown.
The Buccaneers had found their new quarterback. Being mired in a 4-7 quandary of mediocrity was a rallying cry for something greater. Rattling off win after win with smooth, efficient play. A nightmare performance at Lambeau was avenged with the first perfect passer rating by an opposing QB there. Guiding Tampa Bay to win 5 of 6 and steal the NFC South in the middle of the night. You can argue their division was a complete joke and the only playoff caliber team in that run were the Packers, but Tampa Bay did what they had to do. Any doubters would be warded off in the wildcard at the hands of a collapsing Eagles squad. Belt to ass in front of an excited home crowd. Then again, the Eagles had no secondary or linebacking core to speak of. And the defensive coordinator was Matt Patricia. He makes a lot of offenses look good. Even if Tampa's season would come to an end thanks to Detroit, things looked bright again for the Bucs. Their short search was over. Baker embraced Tampa Bay and the city embraced him back. Bucs refused to make the same mistake Cleveland did. He was rewarded. Baker recouped a chunk of the money lost by playing injured in 2022. Why mess with a contending formula? Mayfield meshes well with their offense. He has tremendous chemistry with Mike Evans. He's beloved by both the fans and his teammates. Mayfield has become their long-term option. 2024 was a lot more of the same in terms of performance. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler in the red and black. He's not among the elite of the quarterback hierarchy, but he has led Tampa Bay to a playoff win. It would have been 2 of them if Jaden Daniels wasn't God himself. If Todd Bowles wasn't as conservative as the Amish. Even if the Browns forced a setback, his next extension will more than reward him for his previous trouble. Oh yeah, his old flame in the Browns. As for Cleveland, in regards to that mega deal they gave their much ballyhooed adult at QB, well, let's say Deshaun's more than successfully united Browns fans in celebration. When he tore his Achilles in a game. And then when he retore it a few months later. One of the biggest mistakes in franchise history. Browns? This shit is Tuesday to them. You have to think Baker has some form of satisfaction regarding this, right? It's a classic tale of redemption. Now the question lies as if he can lead a team further. That was always the criticism about him. Despite Mayfield putting up the best statistical performance of his career last year, he threw the most picks in the league. There lies Baker's next challenge. If there's one thing he's used to, it's being overlooked. He's channeled his cockiness and swagger into a manageable fan-favorite formula. He's proven himself as a leader in the locker room. He's become an adult under center. Kind of ironic, don't you think? He was constantly derided for his immaturity and long-term sustainability, but those have long been quenched. Whether that be by his humbling or the chip on his shoulder is up to the eye of the beholder. But the Ballad of Baker has gone from tragedy to triumph. I wonder where the story goes from here. Does it lead to a ring? Or more modest success? The NFL doesn't care for happy endings. It's an unforgiving league. Mayfield knows that firsthand.
Limit your possessions.
Mayfield, shot, end zone, Evans! It's a touchdown!